all for being here. I'm delighted to be with all of you and want to thank Mayor Policina and the Johnston Senior Center for hosting us. First, we have heard from our Republican colleagues in the House and from our incoming president that Obamacare is a complete disaster. So I want to give you the facts first, particularly as it relates to Rhode Island. In addition to having the lowest uninsured rate we've had in anyone's memory, 374,000 Rhode Islanders, 374,000 Rhode Islanders no longer have lifetime limits on their coverage. 465,000 Rhode Islanders no longer can be denied coverage for a pre-existing condition. 8,000 young people in our state can stay on their parents' plan until they're 26. And over 15,000 seniors have saved more than $14 million on prescription drugs as the donut hole closes. Health and substance abuse services, and on and on and on. Colleagues say, you know, Obamacare is a disaster. The facts are exactly the opposite. And they've talked about repealing Obamacare since the time I first got elected to Congress. We've had almost 60 votes to repeal or completely defund the Affordable Care Act. And of course, now the Republicans are saying repeal and replace because they recognize they have to have a solution, but they don't. So it's really repeal and displace millions and millions of Americans from quality, affordable health insurance. And they've had 7.5 years to come up with an alternative. It doesn't exist. And if they do have this plan, it's a secret plan because none of us have seen it. So this is really important because this is something which, as all the previous speakers have said, is essential to leading a productive and quality life, access to affordable health care. On Friday, as Jim mentioned, I think it was one of the worst days I've ever served in the Congress of the United States. The Republicans, in a reckless and irresponsible way, took the first step for the full repeal of the Affordable Care Act with no replacement at all. And the harm it will cause is obvious to the numbers of people that I've just described. But the other point that's worth remembering is the economic impact of this is extraordinary. Experts predict that 2.6 million jobs will be lost by the full repeal of the Affordable Care Act. In Rhode Island, we will lose more than 12,000 jobs if this happens. So the impact it has on our economy, in addition to on our public health, is significant. And you know, you hear a lot of statistics and a lot of numbers when people are defending the Affordable Care Act. I just want to give you two examples, and I know my colleagues have received many of the same kinds of correspondence from people in my district who have benefited from this. This is from a constituent who is in Tiverton, named Leslie. The ACA is the first health insurance I've been able to get in 7 years. About 8 weeks ago, taking advantage of the law's preventative care provisions, I learned I have breast cancer. In about a week, I'll be having my second surgery, a mastectomy. Obamacare is literally saving my life. That's one example. Another letter from a constituent in East Providence. When the Affordable Care Act came into effect, my wife and I had been together for 6 years, and we decided to get married. We realized that if we were married, we'd be able, under the ACA, to afford real health insurance for the first time. We were married within the week and purchased health insurance. So the ACA also promotes marriage better. The effect on our lives has been extraordinary. Not only have we finally been able to access medical care, but we also have shed the fear and stress of not being able to access a doctor when we need one. My wife has a chronic genetic condition that can be fatal if left untreated, and that we struggled with for years when we were uninsured. Now we finally have access to doctors and medicine. Those are just two examples of the millions and millions of examples all across this country of families whose lives have been transformed because of the Affordable Care Act. And I want to just end by saying this. Look, this is a big fight, and we need you to stay engaged in this fight. And to demonstrate the power of the people in this country, I want to just point to one important example. When the Republicans took over the Congress, one of the first things they did just a week ago was to gut the ethics office. It was unspeakable. And what happened? People all across America said absolutely not, and they reversed that decision and they left that office intact. And it's a lesson for all of us about the power of the American people. sadly is the first fight of many to protect Medicare and Social Security and clean air and clean water and consumer protection. And the list goes on and on, and we need you to be in these fights. Who is an individual who not only understands the consequences of repealing the Affordable Care Act, but particularly the devastating consequences it would have on our nation's seniors. She has served our state and our seniors for many, many years, including in her role as Director of the Department of Elderly Affairs, as a 5-term elected state representative from the city of Warwick, and as a registered nurse for 20 years. In her work in the senior agenda, she's been an incredible advocate to improve the quality of life for older Rhode Islanders, and has been recognized by many organizations for her great work. Maureen Maygrave.